we had a meeting on my calendar and it said moon kickoff. And, you're just kind of like, okay, what is this? And I jump on and it's a meeting with rocket scientists and they're telling us that they're going to the moon and they want to do something fun with crypto. So obviously like that first thing, we're like, okay, well, we got to put Bitcoin on the moon.
Welcome back to Unraveling Crypto. Today we have Ian joining us. Hi, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we met last week during Consensus, and it was tons of fun, like meeting everyone. And then I've been hearing about Nakamoto One, and then I finally meet you. So it's pretty awesome, like that we're able to get this rolling so fast.
Yeah, I think in-person events are always exciting because things happen much quicker,
Yeah.
right? When you're standing across the table from each other and you're just like, just come on the podcast. It's like, great. That would have been, a couple of days or a week over DMs. So
Yeah.
it's always nice to meet people in person and just get things rolling.
For sure. So I love to start the podcast always with this question. What are you most grateful for right now?
Yeah. And that's how long do you have? I mean, everything, right? I mean, if you want to go like super existential, I mean, just being human is something to be pretty grateful for. But I think more granular and specific to myself is, there's if you can find, is just listening to Elon Musk talk about having love in your personal life and then love in your professional life, you're a whole person.
Mm,
And I'm fortunate to have both of those things. I absolutely love my job. I'm so grateful and fortunate to work on the things that I'm working on and do the things that I'm interested in every single day. And I'm also super grateful to have an abundance of love in my personal life as well. So I think that that's pretty special and unique, and I'm extremely grateful for that.
ooh, I absolutely love this. Like to be loved and to love is like what life is about. So,
For sure.
next question is, what's your superpower? So that thing that comes to you most naturally, probably been doing it since you were a little kid.
Yeah. Um, Probably just the ability to talk to people about anything and everything, which I guess maybe is a superpower at times, and then like, a hindrance others, depending on who you ask. But yeah, I just love dealing with people.
Yeah.
I love doing business relationships with people. I love building teams. I love empowering people. I've been in positions of leadership before, and I think a really good manager is somebody who empowers the people that they're managing, and it's about providing those people with what they need to be successful in their own lives and how they define success.
Hmm.
And I love doing that, and so I think that that's always been something, just like that interpersonal relationships with people has always been something that I've been fairly strong at, and that's probably my most valuable asset.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true because we met like at a Stacks event, like a pickleball, and you just come in like with a water bottle and like effortlessly talk. I'm definitely a little more on the awkward side, so learning from you.
I mean, I think it's just when you realize that everybody is usually always caught up in their own heads and
Yeah.
less thinking about you, then it frees you up to just kind of do your own thing. Um, and most people want to see you win. So,
Yeah. Oh, look at you, optimist. Okay, so I want to know how long have you been in crypto? How did you hear about crypto? Maybe your like crypto story a little bit.
sure. So, I started learning. Well, the very first time that I ever heard about Bitcoin and crypto specifically was probably back in 2017 or 18. And my best friend had told me about it, and I was like, great, like what do you use that for? And he's like, you use it to buy drugs. And I was like, that's never gonna be go anywhere. Like, and that was, it just left my brain. And then the end of 2020, um, I was starting a lot of like interesting businesses and trying out a couple of different things. I just sold a previous business that I built, and while I was like getting into some of these other things, like doing marketing and buying sprinter vans and creating mobile gyms in them, and like doing all these weird things, um, learned about NFTs, and that's what like really started the rabbit hole for me. Um, I have a lot of friends that are like B or C list celebrities or like athletes and are constantly playing like the Instagram game, the content game. And so NFTs really opened my mind to digital ownership. And I saw an opportunity for a lot of my friends to monetize differently. And then I just went down the full crypto rabbit hole and wrote a business plan and put it in front of the only person that I knew that knew anything about crypto, which was Joe Visani, who's the CEO of LunarCrush. And I was like, "You want to fund me?" And he's like, "Nope, but you can come work for me. I'll give you a job." Which honestly, like looking back at this point, like I'm so grateful for that I have this job and I work in an environment that um, I'm allowed to think wildly and come up with crazy ideas and then see those through. So it's been a crazy short amount of time, but it just feels like we've been doing this for like 15 or 20 years, which is also kind of wild too.
Yeah, that's the crypto space for everyone. It feels like you're doing life here in crypto, but in a good way. So let's get into what you're doing right now. You're the head of NFTs for Lunar Crush, and you're
Hmm.
leading the project Nakamoto One. But give us a little bit of background on Lunar Crush, and then we can get into the other stuff.
Sure. So Lunar Crush is a social analytics platform. So we take a look at a couple of different asset types. So we look at cryptocurrencies, we look at NFTs, we look at stocks, and we measure the size, health of communities talking about these things. So we aggregate across all of the different social networks, ranging from Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, accredited news sources, and we just see like who's talking about what and how many times they're talking about it, and we go as wide from global metrics for all of these assets all the way down to who are the specific individuals talking about an asset. Are they credible people? Are they large influencers? Are they a bot army? It can really range, and so that's really where we started. Now we have our own token. We take a very Web3 approach to our business model, so it's all token gated. So just hold a certain amount of our token, you unlock all of our data. Um, we have a decentralized swap. You can trustlessly swap across chain. I think 1,300 different assets. So we do a lot of different things, but it's at its core, we track the size and health of communities via social.
And I see you guys also are playing around with AI, GPT, and I think that's really cool. I actually full-heartedly believe that crypto and AI together is like the future for making things better.
Totally. Yeah,
Um,
I think
no, go ahead, go ahead.
AI tooling is interesting. I think anybody in the tech space that isn't trying to figure out at least how can we use this internally to increase productivity is falling behind.
Yeah.
And then with all of the language models that are coming out, I mean, cleaning up our data, scraping better and finding things that we were maybe missing before, it's only just helping. So it's pretty wild to see how quickly the space moves and how much more powerful things will be.
Yeah. Well, 100%. I actually wanted to read a tweet from Lunar Crush that was sent a few hours ago about like it says 7.09 of all social posts across all cryptocurrencies are related to the Pepe meme, the Pepe.
Yeah,
And I think that's just absolutely crazy that we're in the times that we're living in and what we're seeing, like crazy ideas come to fruition and it's pretty kind of awesome at the same time. It's weird and awesome.
well, and it's all starting and happening on social now, right? I mean, I think the real like kick in the face for people to bring this to light was GameStop. A group of Reddit people came together and pumped a stock price. Like that was really the first time that I think uh, maybe the boomer generation realized the power of social media. For people that are more crypto native, we've known this for a long time. Everything happens on Twitter. And I think, especially with just like Elon's takeover of Twitter and, traditional media sources maybe becoming less trustworthy than they had been in the past, it's really coming to fruition now, like how important it is to have your finger on the pulse. If you want, breaking news happens on Twitter. It doesn't happen, on the TV, on MSNBC or CNN. So if you're watching it on the news, it's old. So
Yeah, who
that's
watches
where
that?
LunarCrush, yeah, right. Um, but that's where LunarCrush comes in, and we try to provide a different layer of transparency into that news, and then especially some of those assets that you might be investing in.
Yeah, I mean, pretty cool. So then let's go into another wild idea that I was scoping out. So Nakamoto one, tell us where does the idea come from and what it is, really?
Yeah. Um, so I guess to start, Nakamoto One is the first interplanetary treasure hunt. Um, which that just right there in itself, like that phrase is already sounds a little bizarre and weird. Um, so basically, what we're doing is we've partnered with a company called Lunar Outpost, not to be confused with Lunar Crush, but they build surface mobility for other planets. So they have projects on Mars. They have a project going to the moon later this year, and Joe Visani, our CEO at LunarCrush, and the chief strategy officer over at Lunar Outpost have been buddies for a while. And it sounded like Lunar Outpost had been wanting to do something in crypto for a little while, but just didn't have like the right opportunity or couldn't figure it quite out. So we came together, and they've got this lunar rover going to the south pole of the moon, which no human or rover has ever been to. We know very little about the south pole of the moon, but they're actually putting 4G on the moon with Nokia, with this rover, and so we kind of tagged along, and um, basically how it all came together. We had a meeting on my calendar, and it said moon kickoff, and you're just kind of like, okay, what is this? And I jump on, and it's a meeting with rocket scientists, and they're telling us that they're going to the moon and they want to do something fun with crypto. So obviously, like that first thing, we're like, okay, well, we got to put Bitcoin on the moon. That just makes sense. And I'm always kind of someone that's like asking questions of like, well, why, or what does that mean, or what's the purpose? And so I'm like, okay, like that's cool. We can put Bitcoin on the moon, but like, why? What does that mean? Like, what are we going to do with that? And so I think just at one point I was like, what if we did a treasure hunt? And like in that moment, everybody's eyes kind of lit up, and they're like, yes, like that's what it is. That's what we got to do. So 18 months later of development, we ended up where we're at with Nakamoto One, and we're going to be inscribing a private key onto a piece of metal. That piece of metal gets bolted onto the backside of this rover. This rover goes on to a SpaceX rocket. The SpaceX rocket goes to the moon. And then it's up to the world to go get it. So we're going to put a bunch of crypto, a bunch of NFTs on that, and challenge the world to go get it and go find it for us.
Okay, yeah, this is definitely a really wild idea. It hasn't been done before, of course, obviously. Um, like, how excited are you about this? Because it's also like you just mentioned 18 months in the making. When is this going to happen? Tell us the process of that.
Yeah. So I guess even before that, like I'm a total space dork. Like I went to space camp as a kid. I don't know if it like gets much more dorky than that. So this has always been like, a fascinating topic for me, just science and space and aliens. Um, and so I'm super excited for this to be out, and then to be working on this for such a long time, 18 months or so. And we've kind of been quiet about a lot of things, and with government contracted partners, we're not able to say a lot of things. So it's been a long time coming. So we've been public now for just about over a month. We are doing our first mint this coming Friday, May 5th. So we're going to do a full moon mint. So ideally, in a perfect scenario, we mint out, right away. We do have a fairly high supply because of the game mechanics that I'm sure we can get into later. But if we don't mint out, then minting will be paused, and your next opportunity to mint will be the next full moon, so about 28 days. So we're following a full moon cycle. And then the same thing, the moon is up typically for about 12 hours. So it's like your nighttime period. So you'll have 12 hours to mint. Um, so we're super excited. That's happening May 5th. And then the actual rocket launch doesn't happen until Q4 this year. So there's kind of like a lot of different factors that can go into exactly those dates. One, they don't announce them exactly very far in advance. I think for national security reasons, and then there's a lot of factors that can like move that date around, like weather or rockets aren't working or whatever that may be. So right now we're slated for Q4, but minting May 5th.
Yeah, okay, super cool. Well, fun fact too, I went to like multiple times when I was a child to like this Kennedy Space Center and a lot of things because I had like an aunt that worked there and I thought at some point I was gonna like work as an astronaut, but of course that didn't happen. Yeah. Okay, so Mint is this Friday. Um, what's the Mint prize and how is the treasure hunt coming into play? I know there's like tiers of it, so tell us that.
So part of these questions that I was asking myself was, okay, great. So we're going to put a bunch of crypto on the moon, and that's the treasure hunt aspect. But for somebody who may not go to the moon or may not have any desire to go to the moon, how do they get involved? Where's the touch point for somebody like that? So we've created gamification in the way that our NFTs work so that you can kind of play along and feel that you're playing into this treasure hunt as well. So what we've done is we've created 3 different levels of NFTs. Each level has a certain amount of subtype NFTs. So for your level 1, there is a rover, a wormhole, a flag, and a helmet. So you need to collect one of each of 4 subtypes on that level 1. Once you have those, you come to the website, you burn those, so they're actually destroyed, pulled out of circulation, and you're delivered 1 new NFT on the level 2. So you repeat that process until you have all 3 uh, level 2 subtypes, which is a rocket, a map, and an orb. You burn those, you destroy them, and then you're delivered your final level 3 NFT, and that's your Android NFT. So the Androids follow a pretty standard, PFP kind of collection model. They're all relatively like, the same PFP style, but there's different traits. That's the final community that you really want to be in. That's the community that gets all of the holder benefits. You're going to be able to get an invitation to come out to Florida and watch this rocket launch go up. You get some utility on LunarCrush.com with a pro account, so you unlock all of our data, and a bunch of other fun stuff. But that's kind of like the pattern that you need to move through to get your Android NFT and go through the treasure chest or go through the treasure hunt. One thing that I did leave out there was, so 25% of all of the initial proceeds and 25% of all secondary sales go to fund the treasure chest as well. So again, even though you may not go to the moon, you can buy a couple of rad NFTs that were created by our amazing partner, Golden Wolf. They're an award-winning animation studio who actually recently were just acquired by the Doodles NFT project. But they've done work with Disney and Gatorade and Subway, and they've done like a bunch of commercials and stuff. Their art is absolutely amazing. So we partnered with them early on, and they did all of our artwork. So the pieces are just like, obviously I'm biased, but I think in the PFP world, we definitely stand out.
I mean, I also, I mean, I think I encourage everyone to go to the website because I went to it and saw like how the PFPs, well, not the PFPs, but how the NFTs are being made. And I thought it was really cool because there's quite a lot and they wanted to add like somewhat of a human touch in a sense to it too. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, but I also read that 25% of the proceeds or of what's going to be sold and the royalties as well is going to go to a community like fund, right?
Yeah. So you had it right. So 25% goes to the treasure chest, 25% gets held in a community marketing fund. And we're going to be doing a lot of different things with that fund. One of the big things that we're doing is we're donating a lot of money. So a lot of that is going to Bitcoin core development. We're obviously all a little bit bullish on Bitcoin over here. So we feel like providing towards core development there is important. We're going to be funding and donating to some rover. Um, uh, they're like I'm totally blowing it because I'm not a scientist, but Lunar Outpost has a foundation that they like to donate that funds robotics and things like that for children. We're going to be donating to that. And then the rest of the funds, really kind of just get used for the community, whether that's events, merch, just like some fun stuff to do. So just kind of keep the project going for a little while there. And then the rest of the 50 goes to the founding partners.
Yeah. Well, really awesome. This episode is going to come out on Wednesday, so May 3rd. So you have 2 full days to like dive into Nakamoto 1 and get ready to mint on Friday.
Yeah, love that. So lunarcrush.com slash Nakamoto1 is the landing page. And then there's a nice big mint button there. You can move over and mint. And then the burning process, all of that happens on that web page as well. So we've gone through a lot of strenuous detail to make sure that nothing has been overlooked and that the experience here is a little bit more elevated than maybe people have been used to in other NFT projects. Again, it's all about engagement. It's all about touch points. So there's a lot of fun stuff on that website. One thing I do want to say that I haven't talked a whole bunch publicly about. So um, we take the treasure, yeah, so we take the treasure hunt aspect of this project pretty seriously. And so there are tons of hidden clues and little things for people to go find all over our website, in our tweets. Um, yeah, I'll leave that there. But we're doing all kinds of fun stuff. And in Bitcoin Miami's coming up. We're actually going to do a treasure hunt for $10,000 in Bitcoin as well. So we're always doing like a bunch of fun stuff. But for the people that really pay attention and look into the fine details and in between the lines, there's always something waiting for them there.
Ooh, I like this. So it's like way more than what meets the eye for sure. Um, I was gonna ask you something. Oh, yes. When can you start doing like collecting everything and can you burn pieces to move to level 2? Like, is that gonna happen at a specific time or since you mint?
Yeah, so we actually have we released 100 NFTs, 100 level one NFTs the week we went public, and we actually made those free. Well, we listed them for 1 stacks, so we pretty much just made those available to the early community as kind of a reward. So we actually already have 2 Android holders, which is super exciting. So there is a little bit of NFTs out there on secondary market. So Gamma.io. Nakamoto 1 level 1 is the level 1 NFTs, Nakamoto level 2 are the level 2s, and then Nakamoto Android are those Androids. So if you want to go scoop up some level 1s, go grab them on Gamma and then come over to lunarcrush.com slash Nakamoto1 and you can go through that combined process now. And so it's out there, it's open. People have done it already. And then on Friday, you'll be able to mint. And then once you have the subtypes that you need, all the NFTs that you need, you'll be able to go through that process right away. So again, all of those holder benefits really come from or go to the Android holders. So we want to incentivize people to get there as quickly as possible. We got a lot of fun giveaways coming up, specifically for Bitcoin Miami. And then if you want a LunarCrush Pro account, same thing, get to your Android, connect that wallet. And then we're also doing the first 25 Android holders are getting some of the concept art for the Androids, which is these like amazing like hand-drawn art. So we've inscribed those as ordinals. So you're going to get that airdropped to you. So yeah, we're doing all kinds of stuff. There's a lot going on, a lot to dive into, but yeah, it's all starting now.
Okay, so pretty awesome with that. Definitely want to be one of the first 25. Um, with so it's on Stacks, right? Is this you mint on Stacks and you can get it on Gamma? Why did you guys choose to go through Stacks? Curious.
Sure. So tons of reasons, but I think that the most evident and clear is if we're sending Bitcoin to the moon, it really only makes sense that our NFTs are secured by Bitcoin. Um, Stacks is really like the best solution for that, especially um, because we have smart contracts. You're moving your way through different levels of NFTs. If this was just like a standard PFP and there really wasn't a whole ton of engagement that you needed to do, didn't need to move your way through smart contracts, and potentially ordinals could have been an option. Storage size would have been a little bit of an issue there, but yeah, we really just felt Stacks was like just the best option for really what we wanted to do. Um, we've been bullish on Stacks for a long time, and we've always kind of been looking for a project to do over there. And so it just finally made sense once we had this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like you said, building on Bitcoin, and that's what Stacks is really doing. Um, I want to like reiterate this because I think that maybe if you're listening and some of the audience is kind of new, they're literally sending Bitcoin to the moon, just in case you did not get that. When does will anybody else have access to the private key, or how will this work?
So um, we are taking tons of crazy steps to make sure that nobody knows the private key, which sounds interesting from a couple of different angles. But again, it's like how we don't expect anyone to just like trust us that we're not going to rug. So we're taking, all these different steps to make sure that actually no one, myself or anyone on my team or anybody from any of the contributing partnerships are going to see or know the private key. And then to um, encourage consumer confidence even more, we're going to live stream that whole process. So we're going to be out in Colorado at an undisclosed location, um, and we'll live stream the entire process. So what I'm working on this week and the following is, going in and making sure that all of the details there. So basically what happens is we've created a custom CLI to spin up a private key that ties to multiple public keys. So although our NFT project is on Stacks and we're putting Bitcoin on the moon, we want to be inclusive as possible for the other chains. So we're including all EVM chains and Ethereum, Litecoin, Doge, Bitcoin Stacks. We're working on Tezos right now. We're also working on Cardano and a couple of other chains. So any of these communities are going to be able to send some crypto or their NFTs that live on those chains to the moon. But the custom CLI that we've built gives us one entropy, one private key that ties to all of those public keys. So we can just inscribe that one string onto the rover, and then it unlocks all of those wallet addresses. So we run that through the CLI. The CLI, this computer that's not connected to the internet, actually has never been connected to the internet, is plugged into this old uh, engraving machine. We've put like a box around the entire engraving machine so you actually can't see what's happening inside of there. We're going to reach inside to the box. We'll put a piece of tape over the private key. Piece of metal gets pulled out, and then we hand off to Lunar Outpost. Lunar Outpost then goes and actually affixes the piece of metal onto the rover. And again, all of this process will be live streamed. So you'll have multiple angles. You'll be able to see all the angles at the same time. So nobody's like doing a quick switcheroo or like writing anything down. And I don't have a photographic memory. So even if I did see the private key,
You
it's
couldn't get
not
everything.
written down or backed up anywhere. Yeah. And then we're going to take all the hardware and we're going to go in the back and destroy it all. So just to further ensure that nothing has been saved. Um, yeah.
Cool.
So
So this is
kind of
happening
a,
next week, kind of, right?
yeah. So it's happening soon. I don't know. I'm always like tippy toeing around exact dates because, um,
Yeah.
again, like government entities don't like to be super public with a lot of things. So you'll have enough notice via Twitter when that live stream's happening. So
Cool.
if anybody's interested in actually tuning in, just make sure you follow us on Twitter. But it's happening in the next couple of weeks. So we're really
Yeah.
excited.
All of the details are coming on Twitter, so stay tuned. Okay, so I think this is also a pretty big deal because it's been many, many years since we've been to the moon.
Hmm.
And it's happening sometime this year, hopefully. So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, ha, why has it been so many years? I kind of want to go into a different route and pick your
Hmm.
brain, yeah, before we kind of close.
Sure. Yeah, so it's been 50 years since the United States has been back to the moon in any capacity. That's human or autonomous rover. I mean, there's tons of different reasons, I think, why that hasn't happened. But I think the underlying, like, easiest way to talk about it is just like the incentivization just wasn't there. Government funding was cut. We just didn't make it a priority. And only until recently, the private sector has really stepped up and started moving into that realm. So now we have companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin that have been really re-pioneering this entire industry. And I think that that's really, there's a big tie to crypto there as well. It's like the democratization of innovation. Um, when you can put these challenges out there and incentivize in unique and innovative ways, um, amazing things happen. So we're excited to see the privatization of space exploration, and we really see like us playing a very small role in that process as well now, right? So we're going to put, hopefully a couple $1 million, or depending on the price of Bitcoin in 5 or 10 years, it could be a couple $100 million worth of crypto potentially, on the moon. And we're challenging anybody in the world to go get that. And so I think a lot of people initially think, and like, well, this is clearly just something for billionaires to go do, right? But it's like, it's not really necessarily true. Like, Blue Origin right now, you can go to low Earth orbit. You can purchase a ticket for about $200,000, which is a lot. I don't have $200,000 to go do that. But I think with rocket reusability and a lot of other things, innovations that are happening over the years, that number is going to come down quickly and drastically. Um, and so potentially getting to the moon, in some capacity, whether that's rover capacity or human capacity, I don't think is going to be as difficult and as costly as it is today. Um, and I think we try to want to push people to solve that problem, to think about it in a unique and different way, and start to incentivize people in a different way that hasn't been made available previously, through crypto and some of these other things, to start doing that, start acting upon that. We need more dreamers.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that we talked about when we were in person, and you were saying that you were just really like letting the innovation be and whatever people create out of that, and that's really where the magic is gonna come. Like it's gonna take place, and I think that's pretty awesome. Because I mean, at first, I also thought too. I was like, okay, well, then probably a billionaire is gonna go and grab that, like, but people work in interesting ways and how we're going to get there. And time is flying and lots technology is really shaping up and taking its own shape so quickly too. So interesting to see what comes out of this. We are coming kind of to a close, but I have a few more questions that I'd love to ask you about what else like are you guys working on or are you working on that's exciting you in the space or whether if you're not working on it, like what's inspiring you the most?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's still such like an early process in this project. The thing that I'm really most excited about is getting this community together. Getting these NFTs in the hands of people that are interested in the overall mission here. We're going and speaking at MIT and Princeville and a lot of these other, like Cornell, and a lot of Ivy League, schools, and talking to their engineering and their science and, their technology departments. Like, those are the people that ultimately we want to be a part of this project. Of course, we want the people that, like myself, who aren't any of those things and just have a love for space and crypto and NFTs to be a part of this community, of course. But again, it's like we want the people that are going to really push the boundaries. And I think getting those people all together in a chat, on console or kind of united behind a common goal or challenge is really what I'm most excited to see come from this. And then to start to see like what they come up with. Like how are you guys going to go get this thing? Is it a rover? Is somebody just like banking on getting up there themselves? Like, I think there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in the next couple of years that are going to enable this project to be much um, more achievable than I think people think it is now. Um, and kind of my favorite thing, and Joe actually kind of like made this a point. It's like I'm a pretty basic dude. Like I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a billionaire. Like we were able to put something on the moon. Like I think anybody else really could as well. So I think it's always about being in the right place at the right time and wanting something more maybe than others, and pushing yourself to just push the boundaries a little bit. Think outside the box. Um, you know, Tons of things are achievable if you really want it that bad and want to solve some issues.
Yeah, well, this is pretty awesome. And just reminding everyone, Mint's on Friday. Check it out. It's going to be really fun. I want to go into a different direction with you, just asking you about how do you balance? Because I'm really big into wellness, right? So how do you balance life and being in the tech space? I mean, you also love surfing according to your bio and what you've been, to your background too. So tell us, like, yeah, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. Balance. There's always a balance of balance. I think that there's always, I'm not very. I'm usually an all or nothing person, so I'm not always the best at like balancing things equally all of the time. And I don't think that that is always what balance is. So, I mean, there's weeks that I'm constantly doing, 12 or 13-hour days for 7 days because I have stuff I need to get done, or there's a ton going on, or I have deadlines. But then I think it's about making the time and taking the opportunity once that period is passed to do what you need to do to recharge. So whether that's like taking a day off or taking a week off, or just I think also knowing yourself and knowing what like recharges you is super important. Some people need to be social and need to go be surrounded by other people and spend time with friends to recharge, and others don't. So knowing what you need to recharge in that time is really important. Um, but it's also just doing like what you need to do at that time, right? Like that is sometimes the ultimate balance. Like if you need to take a break, then like take a break. But if you need to grind and like, do a 60-hour week, then like grind and go do a 60-hour week. Um, so yeah, I think it's interesting. I think just doing what you need to do, but I'm pretty routine based too. I take the dog for a walk every morning on the beach. I'm super grateful to live close to the ocean. So that definitely helps me balance like my personal life. I've got a super supportive girlfriend that is great through all of this when I'm pulling my hair out and stressing out about things. She's good at kind of distracting me when I need to be, and going in the ocean. And I think just finding those things that you need and that work well for you, and then making the time for them when that time is available is important.
Yeah, I think you said it really well because I'm kind of the same. I'm an all or nothing type of person. So at times I'm like all in like wellness or meditation, and then at times there's days that there's just not enough space for that, and the balance is just always cultivated throughout the time. I mean, throughout the week. Really, it's not like I do this and 5 hours out of your day is like self-care. That's kind of like impossible. Um,
Right.
Cool. So, as we are coming to a close, I love to do what I call a lightning round. So, it's a series of questions that you answer without thinking too much and just as fast as possible.
I'm terrible at these.
Okay. You ready though?
Sure.
Okay. Your go-to drink.
Water?
Oh, what's your favorite book?
Ooh, A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle.
Ooh, okay. One piece of advice to share with the world right now.
Um, just don't stop. Just keep working. Like do the things that are hard,
Mm.
do what's right.
Your favorite show?
Mm. Um, I don't know. I feel like of all time, isn't like everyone's Office or something like that? Like, Parks and Rec, The Office. I mean, those are just like timeless. You can always go back to it.
Yeah, I
Um,
watch them. I rewatch all of those.
yeah, that's the ones that everybody's quoting, right? It's like
Yeah.
all the memes.
Okay, so one thing you can't stand.
Uh, Not doing anything. I have to be moving. I have to be doing something. Even if that's nothing, right? Like if that is your time to do nothing, then like that's what you need to be doing.
Okay, deep. Your favorite place on Earth?
Honestly, where I live here in San Clemente, I every time that I leave, I question why I left. I love being here. I'm super grateful to live here and live close to the ocean. We've got amazing weather almost all the time, and all of my activities that I like to do are, within walking distance.
Okay, well, last question is, what do you love most about yourself?
Mm. Um, about myself, that's an interesting one. Um, I don't know. I try to be as open-minded as I can. I try to always be able to see things from other people's perspective as much as I can, which, isn't doesn't always work out. Um, I come from a unique background of different experiences, so I think, trying not to judge people too quickly and um, just be open to whatever comes your way is usually sets me up for success.
Cool. Well, Ian, thank you so much for taking the time and like connecting super quickly. I'm excited to see Nakamoto 1 come to life. Oops, come to life. And is there anything else or last words that you would like to say?
No, I'm stoked to be here. Thanks for having me. It's super fun. I'm excited to see everyone come hang out in Florida at the rocket launch. That's it. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Well, all of the links so will be on the show notes, and I hope everyone has a good day.